If you own a quality streaming stereo, cleaning up the Ethernet signal can further improve the sound quality. It seems the more expensive the isolator or the filter, the better the sound quality. Until now. I'm always fascinated by phenomena that improve the sound quality but makes no sense technically. For instance, I was told that placing singing bowls in the room would improve the sound quality. So I ordered a pair and experimented with them. It didn't work for me. That doesn't mean it's nonsense. I only concluded that in my case it didn't have any effect. When I heard about the AccuVox AccuSwitch audio-grade switch 7 years ago, I couldn't believe it would have any positive effect on the sound quality, so I let it be. But then a Dutch audiophile I respect told me that it did work, so I requested a review sample. The manufacturer had such negative experiences with YouTube reviewers that he refused. I managed to convince him otherwise, reviewed it and loved it. It was the start of a long-term investigation into digital signals. In my video Ethernet connections do have influence on the sound quality, you can see my opinion 6 years later. I have reviewed switches, passive Ethernet filters and anything in between. And now Matrix Audio comes with an active network isolator. I expect many comments again by network specialists explaining that this is snake oil. I have YouTube's shields up, so don't bother making ignorant comments. First try the SI1, describe your test conditions, and I will take your comments seriously. Since explaining where the SI1 is to be used is so simple, I haven't made a separate where to use video. On the input side, it needs to be connected directly or indirectly to your modem/router. This way it is connected to the internet and other equipment in your network. The output of the SI1 is to be connected to your network audio equipment, like here the network player with integrated DAC. That can also be a network player without DAC connected to a DAC or an amplifier with integrated streamer and DAC. The housing is made from a billet of aluminium and measures 120 by 205 by 44 mm and weighs 1.54 kilos. Apart from the Matrix Audio logo, the front only holds 3 LEDs. The first indicates power being present, the second that an input signal is present, and the third that there is an active connection with your network audio device. These LEDs don't flicker as long as there is contact, but when you switch off the device connected to the output, the middle LED starts blinking while the right LED is off, which can be annoying, so I placed the front out of sight. On the back we see the IC mains inlet. There's no power switch, the power consumption is 15 watts. On a yearly basis that's 131 kilowatt hours. A kilowatt hour cost me 25 euro cents, so the yearly cost is almost 33 euros. But you can switch it off using an external switch or timer. I leave it on all the time to keep the sound quality constant. The LED button switches off the blinking green LEDs below the LAN input and output. The network input and the network output completes a short excursion along the back. Most Ethernet filters, switches and isolators are sealed, since development essentially is a lot of trial and error and can easily be copied. I remember the Upton Audio Ether Region audiophile switch being the only one I could look inside without breaking anything. Up till now, that is, the SI1 can also be inspected inside. The circuit board is galvanically divided in two along this red line. This means that electric pollution on one side can't leak to the other side via the ground plane. This side below the red line, handling the input signal, can't get to the side handling the output. And yes, I know Ethernet is bidirectional, but the goal here is to block the noise and other nasties on the Ethernet signal in one direction. Both the input side and the output side are about identical, with in between them a high-quality optical connection. The toroidal transformer has 2 windings and powers both sides independently. There are 2 fuses on the high voltage side. On the low voltage side we see extra fuses. Then the rectifier that converts the AC voltage to DC. The capacitors provide buffering, which is followed up by 3 voltage regulators on each side, each one making the DC voltages more precise. Then physical layer transceivers followed up by the media converters that output 1 sending and 1 receiving optical signal. Each side has its own picosecond clock oscillator. Between the 2 media converters we find a small microcontroller that does do the housekeeping, like switching off the blinking LEDs on the rear and the LEDs on the front. The SI1 was connected to the Zixel GS1900-10 HP switch over a Cat6 patch cable. Also connected to the Zixel switch was the Zixel T56 modem/router, which was connected to a 1 gigabit Odido fiber optic internet connection via a Nokia media converter. The small green computer Sonic transporter i7CDR was also connected to the Zixel switch via a Cat6 patch cable and was running Roon server. The Mewtwo was connected over the usual Grim Audio SQM XLR cables to the Air Acoustics AX520 that drives the PMC FACT 12 signature loudspeakers on Stack Audio OVA 70 isolators and connected over AudioQuest Robin Hood Zero loudspeaker cable. A PSI Audio AVAA active bass trap was used to counteract room modes. When I connected the SI1, I was immediately grabbed by what it did to the sound quality. Not that it sounded spectacularly better, refinement is the keyword here. Where the EA Hybrid EAL2000 Ethernet filter has a slight tendency to the bright side and the Network Acoustics Muon Pro sounds a bit darker, the SI1 sounds balanced, neutral. There are subtle differences. Where the spatial information is concerned, the SI1 performs impressively. It's these kinds of devices that bring high-end digital audio to a higher level of perfection. I rate the SI1 at the top of my reference set of 1A. In earlier videos I have said that I preferred passive filters because it saves an extra power feed. I recently did some literature research and think there are good reasons to prefer the approach Matrix Audio and John Swenson for Uptune Audio follow. Here's a simplified explanation. There are 2 kinds of noise that have influence on the clock receiver: amplitude modulation and phase noise. Amplitude modulation varies the amplitude of the noise. The phase noise varies the timing of the signal and causes jitter. But amplitude modulation will often have influence on the phase modulation. To minimize this, the DC power driving the components need to be very stable and have a very low noise. Impedance mismatch has its influence too, as will have electronic components like transceivers and DAC chips. I use fiber network connections, like between the studio on the 3rd floor and the Zixel GS1900-10 HP switch downstairs. I have also tried an optical connection between the Zixel switch and the Grim player using a general-purpose media converter. That gave no quality improvement. Using a small green computer optical module did bring sound quality improvement, but not to the level the SI1 does. So using fiber doesn't automatically improve the sound quality. I will dive into this in a later video after some more research. I'm extremely impressed by the SI1. Don't expect big results on a stereo in a box system, But on a system like my reference 2A setup, you will hear results. For my reference setup 1A and 1B, it's a no-brainer. The SI1 has an MSRP of €899, including 21% VAT. And on that bombshell, we come to the end of this video. A new one is coming soon, so don't forget to subscribe or follow me on Patreon, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram or TikTok. Patreon and YouTube Premium members get early access and no ads. A huge thank you to everyone who supported this channel financially. It's great to see the increasing number of small donations. Please don't be shy. I appreciate every single euro, pound, dollar or equivalent you donate. You keep me independent and motivated. It's easy to contribute using the QR code on screen or the links in the description. I'm Hans Beekhuizen. Thank you for watching, and whatever you do, enjoy the music.